Adaeze spent 6 years wiping her father's mouth, changing his sheets at 3 a.m., paying his hospital bills with her own salary, while her brother sent prayers from Lagos. 3 days after the burial, he sold the family land. He thought he was the man of the house now. He had no idea his father had already made a different decision, one Kelechi wouldn't find out about until it was far too late to undo. And by the end of this story, he wouldn't be the only one who lost something he thought was his. 6 years ago, Adaeze was 28, 3 years into a marketing job she loved, engaged to a man named Chidi, who had already started looking at wedding halls when her father's stroke changed the shape of her life overnight. Papa Chukwuma couldn't walk, could barely speak. The left side of his face drooped like candle wax left in the sun. The doctor said he needed round-the-clock care, and in a house with only one daughter home and one son 3 states away chasing a big break in Lagos, there was really only one person the family looked at. Adaeze didn't decide to become a caregiver. It decided her. She quit the job. Chidi waited 8 months before he stopped waiting. Her friends stopped inviting her out because she always said no. Her world shrank to the size of one bedroom, feeding tubes, physiotherapy exercises she taught herself from YouTube videos, nights spent turning her father's body every 2 hours so his skin wouldn't break down. Kelechi called. Not often, maybe once a month, always at odd hours, always upbeat in a way that felt rehearsed. "How's Papa? Tell him I'm praying. Business is about to turn around, sis, I promise. And when it does, I'm sending something real." 6 years, 2 transfers, 15,000 naira total. Their mother, Mama Ngozi, had passed years earlier, so there was no one left to referee the quiet resentment building in that house, except the man lying silently in the bed, watching his daughter's youth disappear one sponge bath at a time, and saying nothing about it because he couldn't say anything at all. When Papa Chukwuma finally died, Kelechi arrived for the burial in a new agbada, driving a Toyota Camry he definitely could not afford on the salary he claimed to have. He wept loudly at the graveside, loud enough that 3 separate aunties commented on how much he clearly loved his father. Adaeze stood beside him dry-eyed, not because she didn't grieve, but because she'd already grieved this man in pieces every single day for 6 years. 3 days after the burial, 3 days, Kelechi called a family meeting, not to talk about their father's memory, to talk about the land. 4 plots behind the family compound, land that had been in the Chukwuma name since their grandfather's time. "I'm the first son," Kelechi said, barely looking at his sister. "Everything passes to me. That's how it's done. I'll take care of things from here." Adaeze didn't fight him on it that day. She was hollowed out, running on autopilot, and some small, tired part of her thought, let him have this. Maybe it will finally make him show up. She had no idea he already had a buyer lined up before their father's body was even fully cold in the ground. What Adaeze didn't know yet was that Kelechi wasn't just being greedy, he was drowning. And the man he sold that land to wasn't just any buyer. He was someone from their family's past that nobody in that compound wanted to see again. The surveyor showed up on a Tuesday morning, camera in hand, folder under his arm. Adaeze recognized the name stamped on the document before she'd even opened the folder. Chief Obina Maduka. 20 years earlier, Chief Obina had been in a land dispute with Adaeze's grandfather, a dispute that ended with accusations of forged boundary documents and a feud that split the 2 families for a generation. He'd wanted that land for decades, and now, with an old man freshly buried and a desperate first son needing fast cash, he'd finally gotten his hands on it for less than half its market value. Adaeze confronted Kelechi that evening, voice shaking. "Do you understand what you've done? Do you know whose family that is? Papa would never..." "Papa isn't here anymore," Kelechi snapped, and for the first time, something slipped, a flash of panic behind his eyes that had nothing to do with land and everything to do with money Kelechi owed people far less patient than Chief Obina. "I needed Bis Eda. You don't understand what I've been dealing with in Lagos." She didn't understand, not yet, but she was about to. A week later, Barrister Adaeze called Adaeze in for a meeting, alone, he specified. What he told her rearranged everything she thought she knew about the last 18 months of her father's life. During one of his rare lucid weeks before the stroke had progressed further, Papa Chukwuma quietly drafted a will. He never told his children. He only told his lawyer with one instruction: wait and see who actually stays. The will named Adaeze as sole beneficiary of all family land, in recognition of years of care given without complaint and in the hope that what was done in silence would one day be seen and rewarded. Kelechi's inheritance was a single line, their grandfather's old wooden clock, nothing else. Which meant the land Kelechi had sold to Chief Obinna was never legally his. Every naira Chief Obinna paid was for property he had no right to touch. Here's the part Adaeze didn't find out until Chief Obinna's lawyers came knocking, threatening a fraud suit against Kelechi for selling land he didn't legally own. Cornered, Kelechi finally broke down and told her the business in Lagos wasn't a business at all. It was a betting and forex trading habit that had spiraled into a 2-year-old debt to a private lender. The same kind of lender that knows heavy hands would lick his tight, not lawyers. The land sale wasn't ambition, it was survival. He hadn't just betrayed his sister out of entitlement. He'd been drowning for 2 years and had never told a single member of his family, right up until the moment it all collapsed on top of him. Adaeze sat with the will in her hands, and her brother, the boy she used to make egusi soup for before Lagos, before the silence, before all of this, standing in her doorway begging for a signature that would make the fraudulent sale legal after the fact and save him from both prison and the lender who was done waiting. She didn't sign that night. 3 weeks later, she instructed Barrister Adaeze to let the sale proceed to Chief Obinna, but at full market value, paid directly to her as the rightful owner, not the discount price Kelechi had accepted out of desperation. Kelechi would personally owe her the difference, and the debt to the Lagos lender, that she told him plainly, was his to solve alone. She never explained her reasoning to him. Some in the family called it mercy. She let the sale stand instead of dragging her only brother through a fraud trial that could have ended with him in prison. Others called it the coldest kind of justice. She made him watch her hold every card in the very inheritance battle he thought he'd already won 3 days after their father's funeral. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because Chief Obinna isn't finished with this land either. Part 2 is coming. You don't want to miss it.